So, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I think this is a very interesting topic that we're going to tackle today. Exporting music in minority languages. I think it's something that all our artists in this region are struggling with, and not only in this region, but in every other country that is not English speaking or Spanish speaking. So I hope we will be able to deliver some useful answers today. I will start by asking my fellow speakers here to introduce themselves first. And then Araceli will have a short presentation with a lot of questions. And then we will try to answer those questions, and hopefully you will get some useful information out of it. So please introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you, Anca. I'm Araceli Tzigane. I'm from Spain. Therefore, my language is one of the strongest in the world. But for some reasons, this topic of the endangered languages has been an important part of my thoughts in the last years. I work in Mapamundi Musica. It's my agency of booking and management. And I also make many works of dissemination in media since 2000. And yeah, I work with world music. So the situation is that minority languages are always present.
Cristina?
Hello, everyone. My name is Cristina Clara. I'm a Portuguese singer and composer. And my musical project is mainly navigate through Portuguese-speaking countries' traditional music, including also original songs.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gotz Buehler. I'm the artistic advisor or director of Jazzahead, which is a convention, trade fair, and showcase festival in Germany. And that means I also speak a minority language, German. So I'm very interested in this subject.
Yes, and my name is Anca Lupes. I am the founder of Mastering the Music Business, which is Romania's leading music business event, conference and showcase festival. This year is going to be the 11th edition, and you're very welcome to join us in the first 3 days of September. So, Araceli, let's start with your presentation.
Thank you, Anca. This quote by Miss Irina Bokova, it's in a presentation I made many years ago because I had the idea of making a project of endangered languages. I wanted to include, for instance, Pomak, that is a language of some Muslims in Greece. Sasaki is a minority inside the minority of the Kurdish languages. And also Mirandés, that is a language spoken in Portugal that is not still official in this region. And I realized one thing that we will talk, I think, later, that how I am going to get support from any institutions for making this project. These people are really minority. So I think this quote by Ms. Irina is very interesting, and it somehow can context all our presentation. But the question, I was thinking, I work with a lot of music in many different languages. Is really the language the barrier? And I thought, I think no, because K-pop listeners, they don't speak Korean. Maybe they start to understand and to study Korean after, but the beginning of their interest was not because they understood the language. Indeed, many people, we listen English. When I was a child, I was listening English songs and I had no idea about what they were talking about. So I wonder, why is really the language the problem? The thing is that music is not a comprehensive test. Also, furthermore, we are in Bulgaria. Bulgaria here is not a minority language, but in the globality of the world, how many songs in Bulgarian are exported in the globally. In the world, it is even Bulgarian is even minoritary in the world, which is the barrier. It's not that it's minoritary. These languages, also the ones I spoke, Sasaki, Mirandés, Pomak, but also Bulgarian and also many other languages that are not minoritary, are rarely heard in mainstream music. Well, my experience in this topic, I know the idea of this panel was about also some kind of success examples. This is an example of success. Sasaki is a language spoke by some Kurds inside the Eastern Anatolia. Sasaki are a minority inside the Kurds, and Sasa language, Sasaki language is a minority inside this. And this is what Alido Angonulta said when I asked him, tell me, why do you sing? Why do you sing in Sasaki? What's the meaning for you? He sent me a very long phrase. You can read it complete in the QR. It's much longer, but I decided to get just this little part because he knows this will probably die, but he is not going to make it die. Also related to the first phrase we have from Mrs. Irina, Eleni, she's from Greek, she's talking about the relevance of the Kurdish languages in the transmission of all these, their history, their memories, as they have been not really in paper. It has been an oral culture mainly. The music has been super important, and this music is made in minority languages. Pontic Greek is another language, is a minority, and it keeps the memory of the identity of the people who were forced exile from the Black Sea to the inner Greece in the mountains between Epirus and Macedonia. They still keep this language, but it has one threat that is to be only in folklore. Euskara, Basque, is totally another story. It is a minority that has been growing nowadays. Around 70% of the young people there in Basque country, they speak this language that was in the path of endangered. It was in the path of being disappearing, and it has been promoted heavily by the institutions, and also the community supports it. So these are three examples of a very different kind of minorityness. But overall, these musics are world music, and they are treated the same way as Bulgarian in the world music scene, let's say. So it's not a matter of the language, it is a matter of which kind of music enters in this, and associated with this which kind of music also, there is the language that they hold. Some languages are made global, most are kept local, the minority ones and also the not minority ones. Yeah. So that's all from this. Thank you. Mitko, we can put the other if you want.
Thank you very much. I was doing a little research and taking some notes. So I found out there are around 7,000 languages spoken all over the globe, but only 23 of them are spoken in half of this world. So what do we do with the other languages? Because as Sabi said here in your slide before, you express yourself better in your natural language, in your maternal language. And I remember we had a speaker at Mastering the Music Business many years ago. He was a very successful music producer, Grammy winner, and I asked him, because he stayed for the whole 3 days in Romania, and I asked him, you have listened to some Romanian music now at the radio and so on. Can you tell me something, what do you think about it? And he started, saying the nice stuff. And I said, no, give me the others, the bad stuff, not the good stuff. And he said, the one thing I would say is about the lyrics that your artists are singing in English, because there was a lot of Romanian artists at that time singing in English. And he said, for us, who are native English speakers, it sounds like it was written by a 7-year-old, because they try to express something, but if it's not their natural, the mother tongue, they cannot do it properly. So it kind of ruins the message and the whole thing. So this is why I think it's important for an artist to perform in its own language. But how do we do it? Because since forever, we have been overwhelmed by the very good exporters of music in this world, which is the US and the UK. So I remember when I started in the label business many years ago, you could not dream to get an international career without singing in English. But now I think there's more diversity in languages starting to happen in the music industry. And I think it's very important that artists understand how to work and what to do in order to be able to promote their music abroad, even if they speak another language. And I would like to have here Cristina's input on what's her experience and how is she dealing with trying to export music sung in Portuguese.
Okay, thank you, Anca. Well, trying to export something very commercial for me.
I'm sorry, I'm representing the music export
Yes,
office, so for me, export is something I do.
I know. It sounds so commercial. Well, I was hearing what the other musician said, and I kind of agree with the beginning. I try to focus on the positive side of using a non-dominant language in this kind of circuits. Actually, Portuguese, just like Spanish, is not a minority language. It's spoken by more than like 2,200 people, 200 million people all over the world, and in like 9 countries and all over Europe, Africa, Latin America, and also Macau, Timor. So Portuguese is spoken by a lot of people. That's not minoritary, but it's non-dominant in this type of circuits. I think the aspect you mentioned about circulation is crucial, and that's why it's so important, human mediation, I guess, this type of festivals and the vision of the curators to allow these songs to reach wider audiences. My experience is that when we reach those audiences, people are really interested, and maybe the language is firstly a barrier, but then it becomes, it kind of wakens the curiosity of people. People want to know better, and from where is this sonority? And the rhythm is different from English, for instance. I think it deepens the type of listening. And although it might be a barrier, it challenges us to create other tools to make our music to be listened, to create some maybe media support, translations. When we think of creating a concert, we will think also on the type of ambience we want to create, because communication is not only verbal. We also create a context, an ambience. We create an emotional connection with people. We can give some clues about the songs, about the lyrics, but then we let people navigate their imagination, and maybe they will understand, even if they don't understand every word. So I think, yes, of course, it might be a barrier, even when communicating with, in this type of festivals, with, if you are not comfortable with English, maybe it's difficult to communicate with people, with delegates, with promoters. That would be the major difficulty. But with the audience, I think maybe it's not such a difficulty, because what we felt yesterday during the concert was that the audience was with us and they were really connected, and I felt that the message was understood. So I would say that the most important investment is on human mediation to make it circulate more, and it will happen. I really trust people will listen to it. We just need to facilitate that the music reaches people.
Yeah, you touched the mobility and the circulation point, and then you said it depends on how music curators perceive that, and I think this is another word for artistic advisor, music curator. So how do you see that as somebody who basically, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, sets the artistic direction for a festival like Jazzahead?
Well, first of all, we're living in a very exclusive bubble, which welcomes outside influence, I think, which fosters curiosity, where people are interested to hear new music, new sounds, including new languages. That is not going on in the outside world. We at Jazzahead, for instance, had a 3-year focus on jazz from Africa over the last 3 years, where, of course, the bands were singing in Wolof, in many other local languages, which the people loved. It's not something, it was welcomed. It's not something that was creating a barrier. It was more creating a curiosity. Wow, what is this music? What does this sound mean? I can say Nangadef now if I meet someone who's from Senegal. Wow. But I think in general, there are so many aspects of it, and you mentioned, of course, the business aspect and the export aspect, and you mentioned K-pop. So that's a phenomenon, that's a total marketing concept. You take a music that works, Black American music, you take dances that work, and you create bands by operating noses, faces, everything that goes with it, and training them to be the perfect social media product.
And
that
then
has
we
very
invest a
little
lot
to
in
do
it.
with how we understand music, I think. So of course, there are some Korean words that might spread into the K-pop community, but it's totally not about that. I mean, the bands don't even have Korean names. Stray Kids, BTS, that is not Korean. So I think, to answer your question, there is a positive aspect when it comes to this, because people in the community that I stand here for are open to this and are hoping to. It's rather a, what is this? I'm curious to find out more aspect than, I don't know this language, let's not book this band. So I think we're in a very privileged position where we can encourage people to listen to other musics, to discover other cultures, of course, through the languages as well.
I think the jazz world is like more privileged because it's a space where music has a lot of importance, more than sometimes the words. So people are paying attention to the skills of the musicians, to the composition, and then probably 3, 4, on the 3rd or 4th place comes the wording. But for other genres, it's much more important. But well, we are in a jazz community here, so we're gonna discuss about that. But I think some of the things that would help a lot in promoting music, that it's sung in non-dominant languages, has also a lot to do with the business of it, with developing a show that is interesting. And I was discussing today with a really interesting band from Turkey. They told me about their concept, which is like they're singing about relationship issues, and they have a dialogue on stage between them like a couple. And I think in this kind of performance, the words, the message of the text that they are singing is important. And sometimes you have to find solutions for that. So I was like dreaming of an app that would translate instantly on a TV monitor that what they are singing, and that will help more people to understand what they're playing. But anyways, coming back to the technical and the business side, you need to work the platforms, the streaming platforms, in a way, to put the metadata in the right way so that the algorithm of the platforms would promote more and would make more visible music sung in non-dominant languages. I'm not sure if any of you had experience about that. That's a technical aspect of, trying to put it forward more.
I think that Spotify doesn't have the metadata of language. I'm not totally sure because I read, but I didn't check myself. But for instance, I'm using disco.ac, and over there, the metadata about language is if it is a Spanish language, English, French, something like that, or a foreign language. I mean, there is no the option of putting even Portuguese. So, yes, absolutely, this is a neglected metadata. Yes, but I don't trust at all that the platforms will make any effort on this. Because why? They don't need that, absolutely. From my point of view, you saw I work with several artists who are singing minority languages. Some of them have strong support. For instance, the Basque country, they support a lot of their artists. Others not. The example of the Sasaki artist, Alido Angonultas, what I put him as an example of success because he is making concerts in Europe almost every month. But what I had to do, I usually work in niche. I work in cultural niche, so I have to find where I can have a public that will listen. For them, the listening is an experience itself. They don't really care about the lyrics at the beginning, let's say. Of course, how I do resolve what you said about yesterday, Celisha, Mustafa, that I think they are here. Their concert was fantastic. What I do with Lido Angonultas is before the concert, we prepare a paper with a little description of the songs. And we give it to every person. I carry 200 copies of the paper and I give it to them in hand, in the local language. So it is an extra work for me, but I thought this is important because once he played in Valencia, in Spain, and he sang standing a song with just the clarinetist and he. And after the concert, a woman came asking, "Oh, this was a call for the prayer, right?" I said, "Absolutely no. This is a love song, totally of love." So I realized it's not relevant for the public, but it's relevant for me and for the artist, that people don't misunderstand the intention of their music because this was not religious music at all. So I wanted that to be clear, and I thought, how can we make it? He can't be explaining all the songs during the concert. It will make a concert super long, and the rhythm of the concert will just go to the floor. So I thought how to make it that way. And also, other option that some programmer told me is, we can put the lyrics written and put them in a screen. But I said no, because people will be reading and they won't be listening. Your mind can't be doing the same time, those two things at the same time, really. It will compete. And the music is what it has to be the relevant thing. And moreover, I was thinking, there is a song called Matador. Matador is killer. Matador is, someone you play and kill someone. Matador by Mano Negra, the band of Manu Chao, is saying terrible things. Matador, they are going to kill you. And you see people dancing in the parties. And I realized people don't really care about lyrics. They don't really care about the language. They care about the experience of listening. It's an aesthetic experience. And for the public, this is, they enjoy the sound. I'm talking about the Spanish people who understand the lyric. And they dance anyway with these terrible lyrics.
I thought you wanted to add something?
It was a little about the metadata and how, of course, if we had this discussion 10 years ago, it might have been very different. But the way the streaming platforms are working now, they're not even allowing to give money to artists that have less than 1,000 streams sometimes. So they don't really want this. It's not even that they don't care about this. They don't want it because for them it's work, it's energy, it's metadata, whatever. It costs them money. So they want the K-pop, they want the big stars. This is where all the labels are going as well. The major labels there in Germany, they just lay off. Warner, just 60% of the people were just let go. It's a global phenomenon because they're saying we're making money with 10% or let's maybe 5% of our artists. So an investment company comes in and says, let's just work with those 5%. We need less people and we can make more money. It's great for our investors. I was just in Copenhagen recently and I saw a yacht. I thought it was like a cruise ship. It wasn't a cruise ship. It was a 250-meter long, 6-story high yacht, private yacht, owned by the guy who owns 60% of Warner Music Group. So of course he had to let go 60% of the people because he needed money to build this $250 million yacht. So it's about money, it's about power, it's about politics, but there are still some positive politics. So we need to find those cultural advocates that are interested in conserving these stories and what is behind a language. I mean, it's not exactly a language, but it's a dialect that's spoken in the part of Germany where I live, which is completely being lost. The only man who speaks it fluently on television right now is the son of Ethiopian parents who learned this and who researches it and who loves it so much. And of course, he's a curiosity, but he loves it. I speak to him. I really don't know half of the words he does. But it's the language that my parents spoke, my grandparents spoke. All of these, there are certain inflections, there are certain sayings that are just lost. That I know my grandmother said to me, they're cute. If I say them to my kids, they're just like, what did you just say? No, it doesn't mean what you think it means. It sounds like that, but it's a different. So I'm very much for preserving these stories and the culture behind it. And I think we need to think more globally and need to find the right advocates for preserving these stories and these histories, because in the end, going back to the story you just said, most of these are about connection and about love and about unifying people. And if we can find a way to preserve that, then maybe we can save the world. Sorry, but I was going very far with this. But, you know, we will definitely better the world if we can preserve some of these things rather than just ignore them and let them die.
Definitely, definitely. Because there is the easy way that builds the 250 meters yachts. And there's the hard way that tries to preserve cultures and languages and sentiments and feelings and music, a kind of music that it's probably more difficult to understand, but once you do it, it gives a different satisfaction when you understand the music that's more difficult than when it's something that it's easy like water. I think one of the activities or events that are helping a lot in promoting this kind of music spoken in non-dominant languages are these kind of festivals, are the showcase festivals that are done by conferences all over the world, where all kinds of artists can go and perform their music in their own languages. And I think lately in Europe, there is a bigger opening for local languages, for local music than it was before. I know we are discussing this topic inside the Music Export Offices organizations, IMI. How do we do to make European music more listened in Europe? Because I think in Bulgaria and maybe in all the other countries of Europe, the English spoken music is predominant in media, in radios, and I think the European music has to make some more space for itself. And this is one of the ways to do it, to develop it through showcases, to make it circulate more, to make more people listen to it and become curious about it. Have you had this experience of showcasing around Europe? Even if Portuguese is not such a small language?
I won't repeat it.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, we have good experiences with this type of events, like here in A to Jazz, also WOMEX, and Atlantic Music Expo in Cape Verde. 3 different experiences, but each one was quite interesting in that aspect, in terms of connections. I had low expectations, I must say. So the surprise was quite huge for me, how people react and how people can relate to and can connect. So I think these type of events are really crucial. Yeah.
What do you think, Araceli? Have you brought your artists to showcase festivals around the world? And did you have a good experience? Did they work?
Yes, indeed. This Alidoan Onultas, he played in Fira Mediterránea de Manresa in Catalonia. From there, I think we got directly 2 concerts booked, paid. He was also in WOMEX, and he was also in So Alive here in Sofia in 2024. And also Xavier Burrúzaga, he was in Crossroads Ostrava. Petra Hradilova, Matthias are somewhere here. They are from Crossroads in Ostrava. He played there. And in general, the thing is that my working field, let's say, is world music. So there we don't have this issue of the language. All the language in the world are welcome. There is not a problem with this. So in this sense, I feel privileged. But of course, I am working in a niche. And I know the percentage of the population that can pay attention and listen to this and not just follow the trends of the marketing is much more reduced.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. One other aspect is that sometimes the artists that I meet all over the world in the conferences I go, in countries I visit, they do have this issue of what do I have to do to get in another countries, and I think a good point to start is immigrant communities from your country in other countries. Did you have an experience about that?
Me personally, yes. With Alidoan and Ultan, again, there is a strong community of Kurdish people in Europe. And of course, the first times they were requested to play in Europe was by those communities. Because also when we have, in one side, we don't have institutional support in the sense that a Basque country has a strong economical direct support for exportation. The Kurdish, they don't have. Also, they can expect, even from Turkey, I think from the Turkish musicians, it's not easy to have any support for this. So in the other side, we have that. There are local communities of Alevi and Kurdish people who are interested on this, and also there are cities where the programmers, who are local programmers, but they program venues, they know they have these communities there, and they try to fit their communities also with artists from their regions. So yeah, my experience is that in one side you have, let's say, Basque musicians have a strong support from Basque country. In Europe, they don't have so strong communities. Other regions, they have. I imagine the same must happen with the African, sub-Saharan African. I don't have that experience, but I'm sure it happens the same.
Probably. And also, if we're coming back to business, there will be also a lot of difficulties in crossing borders from people who are from outside Europe. And speaking about Turkish people, I had an unpleasant experience. I did a project a few years ago, and we had a few Turkish bands invited, and it was really difficult to get them visas. to get inside the country. Luckily, I found somebody at the Romanian consulate who was a culture lover and a music lover, and he helped a lot. But for example, there was one band living in Turkey, but with Syrian musicians, and I could not make them travel. So sometimes this is a really big barrier for people who are outside Europe. But well, it does not depend on us. This is above our paycheck. It's how I say. Okay, let's try to move forward a little bit with the discussion. I would like to ask Cristina, what are your strategies exactly when it comes to opening new markets?
Well, I'm not exactly a strategizing person. I have my agency that helps me a lot with that. Actually,
what do they make you do?
They leave me free. No, I think as an artist, I try to think how I make music, keeping my identity, but always thinking that my goal is to communicate with people, to reach people. And I think it makes my agent works easier as well. Because of course we don't when we do this niche music, if we call it like that, we are not doing music exactly to please people, but I do want to communicate. I do want people to connect with my music. So when I think of creating a concert, I don't think only on musical terms, but also in context, in other types of communication, like visual, context, ambient, lights. I think it's what I think when about the topic of exporting, of reaching new audiences, is how to really relate and connect. For me, this is quite important, to keep my identity while bearing in mind that I want to create a relation and that the concert is a shared experience.
Definitely. Gotz, for how many years have you been the artistic advisor at Jazzahead?
It's only my 4th year, but I've been involved with Jazzahead since the beginning for 20 years. I always worked for a magazine there because I have a history in journalism and background in many other things. I also work in distribution. So I know that, yes, there are those ways to click on to say which kind of language a song is in, but that immediately tells the algorithm, don't program it. Don't look at this because it's not in English. But I wanted to go back to something you said earlier, if I may, because you said English is or has been forever the dominant language in pop music. We've only had pop music for not even 100 years. So before that, it was very regionalized, and other languages had much more influence, especially in the countries. There was a chanson wave that brought this music all over Europe. There was Spanish music that played a huge role because people started traveling, vacationing in Spain, and then bringing the music back. But there was an overwhelming effort to create this pop music, let's say maybe in the 50s. At the latest, I'm not a musicologist, but just from observance, where more and more music in English was being popularized around the globe through the Beatles and Elvis and all of these artists who were all of a sudden international phenomena that weren't existing back then. And there has been, of course, an industry behind this, same as with K-pop, that profited from this. And of course, it's much easier to follow a path that has led to success. And, if you talk about this Grammy-winning producer or songwriter, the most famous songs in English are written in Sweden right now. So, yeah, I think that tells us a lot.
But performed in English. The reason I asked you for how long have you been involved with Jazzahead is that maybe you have an advice, because you've seen so many artists, so you've probably seen all the applications, and what stands out for you?
What stands out
And
is a good live performance, that to begin with, because I think especially for the kind of music we're talking about, it's really important not to rely on algorithms. They won't help you. Not to rely on the streaming platforms, but to make sure that you really play as much as you can and really discover or help your audience discover you that way by playing live, by traveling to other places. I often have this question where I'm in distribution, people say, but I've signed a contract for worldwide distribution and no one listens to my music in Portugal. Well, have you been to Portugal? Do you know anybody in Portugal? Do you sing in Portuguese? No, but you know, it's available there. So what? So is Portuguese music in Germany, and you don't listen to it, do you? So you need to hire a PR or need to find an agency that helps you go there. But to come back to your question, sorry, I'm digressing. I think a good live performance, a good story, something that will make you exceptional, no matter where you're from. I don't want to necessarily listen to another great piano trio from wherever, but I would like to have some local color or something that is special for the area this band or this artist is from, that only they can bring through their language, through the musical, rhythmical influences, whatever it is, but it needs to be authentic. And because we are looking not at the one performance, but we're looking on exporting it. We have people from over 60 countries coming to Jazzahead, listening to the showcases, wanting to find something they can present at their festivals in their clubs. Why would they present a singer that sings in English, the lyrics written by a 7-year-old, from the Netherlands, when they can hire that same person singing lyrics written in English by a 7-year-old who lives down the street from their own club? Every country has that. Every major city has that. There's no need for me to export it from somewhere. But if I say, oh, there's a Lithuanian singer who sings jazz versions of Lithuanian folk songs in her own language, where all of a sudden her voice sounds differently and she transports something that she doesn't when she sings in English, that might be interesting. So be honest, be authentic, and find something that only you can bring.
What's a definitely no-no from an artist applying to play to Jazzahead? What they should not do ever in their application? What makes you throw it instantly in the recycle bin on your computer?
Be unpeaceful? It's very hard to say because we really don't get these applications. There are a few where we would write and say, maybe save your money and apply somewhere else. You won't believe the kind of applications we get. I had an application that's still my favorite. There's a guy singing, sitting at a very bad keyboard. He's sitting in a cafe. The light is from outside. You can't see him. He sings jazz standards in a German dialect very badly. I looked at it for 15 minutes because I thought the joke would be up sometimes. It must be this comedian. I mean, I can't really see him. It wasn't meant to be comedy. So if it's bad, then maybe it will be thrown out. But usually there are people who really mean what they do, and I appreciate the musicality. I appreciate the effort. I'm in awe of everyone who can do this, who can stand on a stage and present their feelings that way. So, no, there's hardly anyone gets thrown out.
Do you get to answer to all the applications?
I personally look at all applications, but I don't. We just really send. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Or yes, you're invited because it's too many. We had 820. If someone comes back and says, "Why didn't this work?" I might be able to give them a reason, and I will if I can. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes it was just, it would be too far within the jury process. Sometimes I would have to say, unfortunately, you were the 5th piano trio this year, and the other juries had already had their meetings, so it was just too much. But there might be pointers that I can say. For instance, sometimes bands apply with a future project, which sounds great on paper, but you can't hear or see anything. So we would like to work with this artist. We have written arrangements. But will it work? We don't know. So this is the type of thing where it gets difficult and where I can tell you maybe apply next year once you have recorded something.
So from 800 something applications, you allow how many in the festival?
38. Less than 5%. It was 820 this year because we had a very strong partner country in Sweden. Mm-hmm. We don't expect as many this year because our partner countries will be Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia this year, who traditionally have not had so many applications. So even if they double the amount of applications this year or triple it maybe, it will still be around 650 or 700 in total worldwide.
I see. So you have focus regions each year?
We have so-called partner countries every year. Sweden, the Netherlands. We had a reconnect with Spain, Switzerland, and France years back. Next year's Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And we have focus regions. And from next year on, the focus region will be Asia Pacific. So also lots of minority languages there. And also lots of interesting markets that have a hard time so far connecting to Europe due to various reasons, but who have interesting scenes, who have great musicians that would like to play outside of their own countries, because that's what it boils down to. You want to enlarge your audience. You want to reach other people.
So basically, if an artist from a region who is currently a focus region for Jazzahead gets denied, then when will it be his next chance to apply?
It will always be a next chance next year.
So people can apply even if they are
You can apply every year with your project. It's really funny. Okay. I've met people who've applied once and immediately got a showcase. I've met people who've applied 6 times and then got a showcase.
So don't give up. It's a good advice for artists who are applying.
The jury selection changes every year. We have a rule of which we sometimes break for very important reasons, but usually we don't have people on the same in the next year on the juries. Okay. So jury duty is restricted to 1 year. Maybe after 2 or 3 years, they can come back, because we also want jurors that have the power to book on important festivals and clubs. So these are the same every year, but we can't have them still every year.
Thank you. I was asking all these questions. Probably there are people interested in knowing more. Yes, there's a question there.
Hello. I wanted to just share my experience of developing an artist that sings in Creole, which is a minority language, and that I have developed for the last 20 years. So I developed myself also as a manager with zero experience to learning all the ins and outs of how to develop an artist. And I definitely think that the language is not a barrier. I feel like the barrier is really the support that the artists receive in their local country. In my case, me and my artists, we had to change country. So we moved to the UK to be able to, be in a better strategic place in Europe. Because obviously Portugal is quite far. So if you want to tour in the hubs, which is like France or even the UK or Germany, it would be very difficult for us to do that journey. And in London, obviously, I can tour by driving. I'm 5 hours from Paris, 7 hours from the Netherlands. So it was much easier for us to develop her career by moving. So there's obviously a geographic barrier there. Also talking about this type of conferences, I can say I've developed all the network that we now have around my artist. Her name is Carmen Souza, by the way, by going to conferences, by going to UMAX, like year after year, I would go there and build relationships with all the actors. But obviously I was really committed. I think I've done more than maybe a normal manager would have done. But that work is really important. But I do feel like applying to showcases like UMAX and like Jazzahead, you need to be in a specific step in your career to be able to go, because I feel like Jazzahead gives a lot of importance in the structure that is behind the artist. So if the artist doesn't have a manager, doesn't have a label, he might be less be less chances of getting chosen. So that is also important. And also, we know that most of the showcases don't support a lot of the costs. There's a lot of investment going into these showcases. So you really need that support from the local, from the countries that these artists are coming from, because obviously they are, promoting the culture of somewhere where they are coming from. So it's really important that those countries step up and really support the artists. I can say I didn't have that support. I had to really do the work to go there and be, but I think now maybe I'm originally from Portugal, and I can see a lot of positive changes in Portugal in terms of the support that is given to artists. So I'm just sharing my experience.
Yeah, there are export offices in several countries that are able to finance their artists to go perform in other countries. So maybe you should reach for your export office. They might help with that, but really good strategy.
Yeah, I can say like UK doesn't have an export office. There's like very little support.
They don't need one, I might say.
Well, the artists in the UK, they need to, if they want to have a sustainable career, they need to go outside the UK into other countries to be able to tour, and they don't have that support.
Thank you so much. It was a very insightful information.
Hey, hello. I'm Simo. I'm a producer, songwriter, and an A&R for a big label in Bulgaria. And I got a question. What I took from this talk so far, correct me if I'm wrong, is a bit of a sad outlook on the preservation and export of minority languages. But what I'm really curious about is which part of the industry should artists turn to or hold accountable in striving to be represented? Should that be the cultural export offices, or maybe European projects, governing bodies, festival curators, showcases, or journalists in media? You also mentioned diaspora communities, cultural centers. But all in all, what I'm asking is, how can minority languages actually compete on the global music market? Thank you.
Who wants to take the answer to that question? Well, I think, please do. I might add something.
No, I think Patricia already had some part of the answer, because in the end, it's not about the language. It's not about whether or not it's a minority language or it's in English. It's about everything around it, basically, and how you connect with an audience and what the team behind you does. But all the institutions you mentioned actually are worth contacting if you want to further the career of an artist. And I think it needs to be a concerted effort where everything is in place. And that's why also something that Patricia mentioned with Jazzahead, we put a lot of attention into the team behind an artist, behind a project, because we want to make it sustainable. We really don't like a project to go away after that one showcase. That's the worst that could happen for us. Our best possible outcome is that from Jazzahead on, this career will take off. These are the stories that we need to create. These are the careers we need to further. And if we think, or if everybody on the juries thinks the team is right and the setup is right, then nobody cares about the language anymore.
Did I get it right? You're working for a label here in Bulgaria?
Yes, as an A&R.
Are you trying to export artists performing in Bulgaria?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, then all the above that you mentioned should help. And I think many of them are. I mean, there are European projects helping with mobility. There are mobility grants that I hope you know about for artists going abroad in songwriting camps and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Thank you.
I think our time is up.
Sorry for the interruption. I will maybe say goodbye to everyone and thank you because I have a flight now. So I need to go. Thank you so much for having me and thank you for coming.
Safe travels. Yeah, but I think our time is up anyway, right, Peter? The time is up. Our time is up. Okay.
I see that you have a proper conversation,
so if 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, if we have any more questions from the audience.
It's the lunch break, so you have enough time.
Okay. Any more questions from the audience? No? Okay. So yeah, what I was saying a little bit earlier is the questions I asked Gotz is because many artists are asking what are the bookers expecting from us, and I always tell them, as you said, apply several times. One no is a no for that particular moment in your career, so try several times. After the 6th time, you may get into the showcase, or maybe after the 1st or 2nd or whatever. Don't give up. Yes?
I think this is not the only thing which is important, just to apply again and again. I really believe in which is, okay, it's hard thing because it's also, there is a financial side.
Yeah, you need to open the mic. You need to open the mic, yeah.
I just wanted to add, because this topic is very close to me personally. I never applied to a showcase, but however, I work with a lot of young musicians, especially vocally, about that. So the application process, again and again and again, it's not enough. There is another side, the investment of time and money. I'm sorry, but money, we need money for that. To go to a showcases, even if you're not selected, just to spend 2 or 3 or 4 days there, on the first time you will be absolutely unknown. Probably you won't be recognized. But this is a good first step to establish some contacts, because if you establish a good contacts even with the musicians, they're not with the managers, bookers, etc. Those musicians, they have at least 3 more people that they know, so you can jam together, you can smoke together, you can do everything together, and then to start enlarging your network. So this is very important. Export is a very long process, unfortunately, because we have too many artists in the world, too many festivals, but but most of the festivals, they're looking for artists that they can make money from. However, this is the business.
It's a
We are
business.
in an industry.
Yeah.
So my advice is to go to at least 2 times to Jazzahead, just to say hello, just to get know, just to see how it works, the mechanics behind everything, see all the sound checks, see all the panels of the conference, meet a lot of people. Don't push them, just say hello, my name is Peter, I'm a trumpet player, I'm here just to walk around, to see around. Oh, you're from Jazzahead? Oh, that's amazing, congratulations, great selection, and that's all. Start asking them about how is your family, for instance, if you have an opportunity. Get closer to them. Never say, please book me. Or I applied, but I've been refused or something.
I think this needs
That's how
another
Gotz is
panel.
here, actually.
Yeah.
I never pushed him for everything, but just saying hello, 3 years. And the 4th year, he said, man, it's time to invite me to jazz. So it's almost the truth from the funny side, but yeah, I mean, we are humans. First is the human connection, and then is the business.
Exactly.
If you don't have a lot of money in your pocket, and your the people in front of you also has a business interest in you, but you are unknown as an artist yet.
I think this is the topic that you should develop in a separate workshop. It's very important. I mean, you're presenting it in a funny way, but the way to network in a conference is very important. How to do it, how to connect, how to do the follow-up, how to. This is, a workshop in itself.
I'm so sorry that Cesar Andion is not here, because he was supposed to head a very, very interesting panel after this, or it was tomorrow, about DIY export office. So Cesar, with all his connections with all, and from all his more than 25 or 30 years experience in the music industry, also in the Live Nation, Spain, he's export office by himself. He doesn't have a office. He has only a notebook. I mean, a phone book, sorry. And he called me and he said, I just sent you an email. If you're interested, look at this 5 artists, select one, or let's start together a call for artists or something. So we started the same, it's a baby, it's called Bulgarian Sound Embassy. We started, and I have enough phone numbers, enough good reputation from the last 15 years to call someone and to ask if you are interested, we can collaborate somehow. Not to sell to him, but to try to collaborate on a mutual interest. So that goes through the personal network and connections.
You wanted to say something?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Didi, and I have a project Duxius and Didi Fortuna, and those projects are not in the world music, but I've been doing some coaching yesterday for the bands from world music, and I just want to say what Peter said, that's exactly it. This is exactly what I did. I went the past 2.5 years to different showcase festivals, and you will be surprised how many times you notice that the people are the same. Like, you see the same faces, and even if you sometimes don't have, maybe you're shy and you don't know how to speak to people, even if you're there and they see your face, next time they will come to you and say, I've seen you last year, who are you? So this is what is happening to people who are just giving at least a chance themselves to be around. And I played Showcase Festival in Poland on Music Week Poland, the only one edition which happened last year. And this was what happened. I had 2.5 years of experience of chit-chatting, talking, saying like, nice to meet you, from Jazzahead. Oh, that's nice. And then I could finally, but I'm not playing this year. No, maybe next year. And when I actually played a show, I just said, come to my show. Oh, you're finally playing. Oh, finally, I want to see you. It was packed, it was full. And then the next day people were telling me, you are the headliner of the festival. I was like, maybe I am. Well, it was just because I did the whole work. No management, no label behind. It was just me doing the work. And Now, all the doors are starting to open. Labels, managers, we are having conversations. But I've done this work, as you said, you have to really have the will to do this. And then not being afraid to talk to people. And networking is not about book me, book me, book me, book me. Because if you say book me twice, they will never book you. You don't even say once. Just have a nice chit chat and ask, where did you buy these beautiful shoes? They will remember you because you need to show the genuine interest. And I just wanted to say that I agree with everything what you said. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes? Yep.
Yes, I concur with all that's been said about networking. Gentle reminders are better than force-feeding people or what I'd say with experienced promoters and bookers is they know who's there and they don't need people coming up to them all the time, pestering them. I think likability and personal relationships are very important. I think actually it's part of the music. It's a whole spectrum of factors that come into play when you are an artist or a performer, is that it's not just about I need to be there. It's whether people want you there, and they'll get in touch. We chase people as well at Ronnie Scott's in London, where we get many people applying, of course, like they do at Jazzahead, and it's and trying to answer to everybody is difficult. And then when people come back, why did you say that? That also becomes difficult. And in a way, those artists should know. They should look at the whole thing. It's not just about the music. It's about whether it suits the program. It's good to do your research and so on. But what I want to do also is bring back to the subject we're talking about, the minority languages and actually communicating. And quite often you see an artist who is performing in a different language to the one that you know, but something comes across. I know with Brazilian music, it's quite easy because the rhythms are so intoxicating quite often. So that's not a problem. But there are other folk musics, obviously, you have to make more of an effort to get into. And maybe the artist does speak in the local language and explain what the song's about, and then they get the mood or the flow of what's being performed. So there are all sorts of ways of doing it. But I'd like to sort of reinforce the idea that you don't push. You present. There's a famous quote of Cannibal Adderley. You may have heard Cannibal Adderley, a great name in jazz, who sent his latest album to Jimmy Lyons of the Monterey Jazz Festival, and all he did was just follow it with a phone call and said, "Did you get it?" That was it. Didn't have. Of course, he wasn't named by that time, so they would have booked him anyway. But it just demonstrates a very good. Less is more, and that's what I wanted to say, really, just to reinforce what's been said already, but it's a very good exchange of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, insights to share? Okay. This is the unlucky chair. It always gets empty. So if nobody wants to share or ask anything else, I think we should wrap this up. Thank you so much to my fellow speakers. I won't leave you more because there's the lunch preparing. So thank you so much. I think if you see us in the festival, don't be shy. Come ask questions if you still have or if they come later. Thank you so much.